Slavery ended in 1942. Hetepu fam, peace and blessings. This is Derek Raccoon Moore, and I just finished reading. This one book, and then on top of that, I went ahead and I watched a documentary about Neoslavery, and I'm not talking about slavery. I'm not talking about the penal system and all that kind of stuff. We're talking about, actual slavery. Okay. And, after watching this video, after watching this documentary, after reading, the book, I was kind of like, but after watching the documentary, it kind of put some things in perspective. One of the things it did was it basically helped me to realize something, that here it is, we thought that we knew everything, and we really don't. Okay, in regards to our history in this country. All right. Now, the one thing I can say about this, after watching this documentary, and I will put the link in the description, so you can go watch it. I really encourage that you watch it. You get other people to watch it, and also purchase the books. I'll list the books down there in the description as well. But I really encourage that you watch it, because from a spiritual perspective, it really goes ahead and it brings light to a lot of things that have occurred to our ancestors. Okay. I mean, for one, after watching this documentary, I can't understand how anyone could claim to be a Democrat or a Republican. I can't understand how anyone can claim to be, a Christian after watching this video. And understand, it's not so much the problem with it. It's not that it's attacking any of these, political organizations or affiliates, and it's not. The video also is not. What do you call it? It's not attacking people who were Christians and all that. It basically just helps you to see that there was a lot of policies that was made by individuals who belong to this, and how a lot of policy that affects us to this day, how it was instrumented, and it was, or it was implemented, and it's instrumental to modern day oppression, and like I said, you really ought to watch it. Okay. It's an hour and 15 minutes short. Okay. Because it's not like they're giving a whole bunch of useless information and all that kind of stuff. And it's not just based on, it's not a dull video. Okay. It is a real, like I said, really informative, very, very informative video. And again, like I said, I encourage that you go ahead and you watch it, especially if you're an educator. Especially if you've been telling people, you've been telling your kid that same old myth, in regards to American history. You really, really ought to, you really, really ought to go ahead and watch it. Because this whole thing in regards to reparations is now coming back up again. Okay. And a lot of people go ahead and they get offended. And I'm gonna come back to the whole thing about the spiritual part here in a minute. But a lot of people go ahead and they get offended, and they think that, money is coming out of their pocket. as if, and you'll always hear this argument, well, well, my family didn't own slaves and all that kind of stuff. And what they don't seem to understand is that slavery and a lot of the policies that went into place to go ahead and keep African descendants of slaves oppressed in this country, this was mandated by the government. Okay, this was, and this is the argument that people they're choosing not to hear. Okay, this was a government thing. Okay, like I said, laws and everything were put in place to physically, to physically go ahead and keep a people down, to keep a people oppressed, right?
Here she goes again. I can feel her eyes closing in.
This is what took place. This is the history, and that's all that can be said about that. It's history, all right. And because of it being history, because of these things have occurred, this is the problems that continue to exist and continue to plague our community. So like I said, if you watch the video, just have an open mind about it. To be honest with you, to tell you, to kind of give you an idea how this video was when I was sitting up here and I was watching it, it had almost like that parallel dimension reality type of thing, like you're watching it and you're like, are you kidding me? That kind of, like what the, it was that kind of experience you had while watching it, because it was like, yeah, you see this going along, and then all of a sudden it's like, here's the left hook, here's the uppercut that you didn't actually see coming, So like I said, I really encourage that you watch the video so that you get a better perspective of it. Now, going back to the spiritual aspect of it, part of the reason why it's important that you watch this video from a spiritual perspective is because this will help to, these historical accuracies will help to elevate your ancestors. Okay. A lot of our ancestors, they had soul loss that occurred. All right. And part of the reason why we have some of the situations that we have is because of that soul loss, And if you don't know what soul loss is, basically, whenever you have a traumatic event, part of your soul, pieces of your soul, it breaks off, okay, in order to protect your, in order to protect your mind, in order to, because the trauma is so, it's so, so empowering, so damaging. Part of your soul, it breaks off. So to protect yourself, because it's like, we just want to go ahead and make sure everything's safe. Okay. So it breaks off, and in the process of it breaking off, it kind of goes into the other dimensions. All right. As a result, typically, or what's supposed to happen, is that after the trauma is over, those parts of your soul, they're supposed to go ahead and they're supposed to come back. What happens though a lot of times is that they don't. Okay, most of the time, those parts of your soul that basically they broke off from your from your energy field, they're existing in that other plane. Okay, they basically exist outside of the other plane, and then as a result, you basically have like holes in your energy field, okay, or your frame, your spiritual frame, or your auric field, okay. You have holes in it, and those holes end up making, I'm saying holes, HOLES, people, but those holes basically, they go ahead and they cause you to have, it cause you not to be, cause you to have dysfunction. All right. And if you never go ahead and you never retrieve those parts of your soul that you lost during the traumatic experience, then, like I said, you end up becoming a dysfunctional individual. Okay. So you can imagine how this is going, how this is playing out. We have a bunch of dysfunctional people. Okay. One of the biggest issues within our community that is just now being addressed are some of the psychological issues that are affecting our people, affecting, our folks, but this is kind of like part of it. All right. From a shamanic perspective, you have, if an individual goes in here and they have these traumatic experience and the soul parts, they never come back, then they become a dysfunctional individual. And then that dysfunctional individual gets along with another individual that's dysfunctional. And next thing you know, you have basically a collection of individuals who basically have a lot of dysfunction going on in their lives. And that dysfunction, if it's never addressed, it's never dealt with, it basically passes on, and it keeps passing on. And so, as like I said, you can pretty much imagine there's a lot of us that have dysfunction in our families. Okay, they have dysfunction in our ancestral line. And this is the part of the reason why spiritual development is important. It is also part of the reason why ancestor veneration is important, or ancestor honoring and ancestor veneration from our perspective. So when I've mentioned before, we're here to go here and repair that ancestral line. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about, in this age, most of us who are here, this is what we're here to do. We're here to go ahead and repair some things. We're going ahead, let's piece some things back together. Let's go ahead and correct some things. And this is part of it. So learning about the neo-slavery, okay, learning about all that will also help to piece this together. It will help to go ahead and to help those parts of our, like I said, of our ancestors who had experienced that soul loss. It would help them to go ahead and to also heal and be elevated. Okay. I'm hoping I hope that makes sense. Okay. I'm really hoping that makes sense. Because like I said, I'm just, it all basically comes together when you really, really go ahead and you get into this, and you see this as our spiritual inheritance. Okay, this whole thing that they're trying to prevent us from, that they keep trying to discourage us from honoring our ancestors, from working with our spirits and working with our spirit guides, and doing anything from that spiritual magical perspective. All of this is all tied in, okay? And you gotta understand why. Why are they doing this? What's the whole point of this? So, like I said, that's the reason why I'm encouraging people to go ahead and watch it. Again, I'm including the link down below. I'm tying this, I'm not trying to go ahead. I'm not getting paid for this or anything. This is just something that, like I said, I read the book, but then I saw the documentary the other night and was like, my God, wow, this is something, and I mean, and it was interesting. While I'm sitting up here and I'm watching this video and everything, I'm sitting up here. I mean, I could feel my ancestors. I can feel them saying, I knew that was what happened. It was stuff like that took place, and that's what I'm saying. It was really powerful. Okay, now, like I said, again, you know, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cut this off because, like I said, I want you to go ahead and watch the video or so. Again, thanks again for sharing, you know, your comments, your questions, and your suggestions. Again, thanks also for your donations. Until next time, you know, I'll talk to y'all later. Hetepu, peace.